What a genius move by the movie Kalki, because they gave the rights to their film, the Hindi version to Netflix and all other four languages to Amazon. And they are the two biggest OTT platforms in India, and both of them are marketing Kalki because they are out on OTT. What a 220 IQ move by them. The amount of publicity they have already gained with their box office performance, with so many people watching it. Now, even people who haven't seen it, don't know about it maybe, even they will get to know about it. And you will have a bigger audience to serve when Kalki 2 comes. So first, let's look at the video by Netflix called Inside Kalki 2898AD. Nag Ashwin talking about the film and the direction and how he, made the actors act, all of that. So let's have a look.
Hello everyone, I'm Nag Ashwin, the director of Kalki 2898AD, and
Nice
I'm really excited today to take you behind the scenes of our world, our characters, and so many things that you probably wouldn't have known otherwise. And let's get started.
All the behind the scenes. So cool, man.
I think one of the first things I learned about Kasi, apart from
Look at the set behind. I want to be
my
there.
grandparents, that's where you go to live.
Look at the tires of Bujis. Like, are they shooting already? I don't know. They'll take a year or so.
Some things that you like, or that's where people go to cremate. The first thing that I read about Kasi was that it's probably the birthplace of civilization. That's where world or human society sort of started, along the banks of Ganga. It felt only appropriate that the birth of something will also be the last thing. The river Ganga is the most pure and the most sacred for all Indians and for so many people in the world. The end would come when that finally gave up. I think also one of the most important dialogues or the most important scenes in the Mahabharata happens with what a film starts with. Yep. It's Ashwadhama Hatha Kunjaraha, which basically means that on the war field, like Ashwadhama's father, Dronacharya is the teacher, he's the one who taught both these sides. Yep. When he prays for a son, he almost prays for a version of Shiva himself, and Ashwadhama is born with a powerful gem on his forehead which almost renders him invincible. The only way to defeat Dronacharya turned out to be love for his son, to lie that Ashwadhama was killed. And that's when Dronacharya puts down his weapons and he gets beheaded. So that's where also the Mahabharata changes. And that's where our story begins, because with that one lie, Ashwadhama becomes completely enraged, and he realizes that his father was killed unjustly, and he commits.
And I remember watching that in the Mahabharata series. I mean, so many epicness. Like, when will we see that on screen, man? Like, we got to a bit of it. Like, when first time I saw the film and it started, I thought how much of Mahabharata they'll show. Like, this show, we see Bhim Pitama. No. Bhim Pitama, right? No. Come on. Am I right? Bhim Pitama? That's what they should call him. Ganga Putra, blanking out the name. But he's, resting on the arrows. And we see all these things. So I was wondering what scenes we'll see, how it will start. Because we saw in the trailer that we'll see the scene of, him killing the child. But how much we'll see? Will we see that why he did it? Because Dronacharya was killed. Will the film show that? Because then that you have to establish so many things there. So how would you take it? And I think they didn't waste time on it. He just directly does it, and the next scene is Krishna comes and gives him the curse.
Some sins which now he has to pay for. So it's like a karmic cycle.
Yep.
Like he turns like an astra upon the womb of an unborn child or on a mother. So that Sri Krishna says that's probably the biggest crime that's committed in all the atrocities of these 18 days of war. So Ashwadhama commits a sin because he feels that his father was killed unjustly, and now because of that sin, Krishna curses him, and now in redemption for that is how our story starts. So for me, Ashwadhama is a very interesting character. He's a great warrior, but he now needs to find a closure and some redemption to his story. So finding the ending for that story was something that really excited me.
That'll be cool.
Prabhas Garu is a huge fan. He was overwhelmed. I think he was there when we shot the first shot of Ashwadama, which we released a picture on Guru Purnima or something. So he was there on set. He was literally, after he gave the clap, he was just standing in the background somewhere, and he was like, I can't believe this man is on set. I can't believe I'm going to act with him. He's like fully in awe. Everybody knows Prabhas Garu is that humble and all, but he was even more overwhelmed. And I think what is even more surprising is how big a fanboy, in a way, that Bachchan sir is of Prabhas Garu. He's like, he goes back and he'll be like, can you believe, like, you know, it's there, Bahubali, your fans are going to be like so angry, Nagi is making me hit you, like what is going on? And he's fully excited whenever he has a scene with Prabhas, and you know, there's some scenes I can't shoot with them together because he's meant to be 8 feet, and you know, I'll need like to shoot plates of them separately, and he'll just be very disappointed. He'll be like, but I want to do that scene with Prabhas. So, and he loves it. He just is such a big fan of the personality and the phenomenon that Prabhas has become, that he's so excited, like, to talk to him after like when he first met him on set, or even like I think recently, even on one of the last days of shoot, I think after Salah released, he was so excited. He called him and he said, I watched it twice, you were amazing in the film, and all of that. So I think both have one amazing mutual admiration society. It's great.
One is a superstar of yesteryears, and one is a superstar of today.
Yeah.